Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Smartest Studio channel. My name is Marinko Laban, and this is another video in my series of tutorials on the module plugins that I developed for VCV Rack 2.0. It is not a tutorial about how to write music, how to play writer, how to use Rack in general. It's focusing on the plugins that I developed. I hope you find them useful, and let me know if you comments or questions about the modules. Yeah, like I said, put in the comments. Uh, this tutorial is focusing on my Triangle-VCO that I developed. I would like to reference the videos I made about my sine wave sawtooth VCO. They contain a bit more detailed information, specifically for those VCOs, separate videos. As the triangle and the Pulse VCO are fairly similar in setup, I combine these two in this tutorial, make it a bit quicker because I don't want to be too repetitive, but certain things will. Okay, let's look into the triangle VCO at first. And here we see the module. You find them Smartest Studio free bundle in VCV Rack 2.0 library. Feel free to use them. If you want, you can sponsor me and buy me a coffee, but no obligation, obviously. The Triangle VCO generates a triangle wave, as you see here on the scope, which I've connected to the outputs. Input is here, where you do connection to a volt per octave input, in this standard output from VCV Rack itself. The output is the audio signal that you can send to scope as well as to a VCA with an ADSR behind it. Play the keyboard, will hear a sound accordingly. All right, so much. Yeah, that's better. I've also put in a spectrum analyzer using the same output as we sent to the scope to explain and see how the harmonics are arranged. And the reason why I want to do that is because the triangle V right hand mouse button is something band unlimited, similar to my saw CO sawtooth. That is to help you reduce aliasing if any happening. There's a lot of explanation done about aliasing sawtooth video, so feel free to watch that one, get a bit more detail. In this tutorial, I'll be limiting aliasing by stating that switch to unlimited, which has a theory harmonics, or limited, where you can specify of harmonics between 1 and 20. If you select 1, you will actually have a sine wave, and you see only one harmonics popping up in a spectrum analyzer. If I set it, for instance, to 10, it will look very definitely as a sawtooth. See 10 harmonics over here, and it has the typical triangle sound, which for my relative perception, if you like, is a little bit between the more sharp, brassier sound of a sawtooth and the somewhat dull in the background sound of a sine wave. Um, Probably my bad hearing, but I found if you set the harmonics to more than 10, the difference is hardly audible. So in the spectrum analyzer, very little or no difference. But definitely between 1 and 10, there is a distinct difference, and you see that the shapes are a bit more rounded. The less harmonics you, more shiny-ish it gets. Anyway, let's go back to the unlimited. And there we are. As per the sine and sawtooth wave, we have frequency modulation, phase modulation, volume modulation, and these buttons can be used to attenuate the signal. You can set the pitch by default C4 and set it to whatever you want, which is the tuning of the oscillator. The default phase and the volume in case you want to blend or annotate a comparison tool. So nothing terribly exciting about that bit. Let me add another triangle, duplicating this one. Same. And I'm second VCA and R setup. Now we have two videos, different channels. And let me, for instance, show you what you can do. Combine the connect well here. For instance, if we detune the second oscilloscope and add some very subtle phasing. Level. Here. So here we see what happens if we detune the oscillators a little bit. See it as a kind of clipping action, and you hear the subtle phasing. You make the tuning a little bit less. The hear that the phasing becomes more subtle, and if you tuning more prominent, and you can make use of those kind of more fuller, more richer sounds. Of course, you can also detune via an LFO. In this case, I'm LFO modulator frequency of first oscillator, which is a bit over the top here, but you get the point here. And the same for phase modulation. Now we're modulating with an LFO. You can also give some very interesting. Yeah, that's basically the outline of the Triangle-VCO. One particular topic that might be interesting and disconnect is that we use the second VCO to modulate the first one. In this case, we are modulating at audio range, and that will more or less bring you into the C modulation. So in this case, I'm using VCO to modulate frequency of VCO1. Here, the more I attenuate modulation, stronger does the effect get. And yeah, I like frequency modulation. I own an FM synthesizer, hardware synthesizer, the OP6 by Korg, and I really have a lot of fun with that stuff. I'll make some video series on VCV Rack is definitely my little. But this is particularly a sound that I really like experiment with. Same for phase modulation, you do the same in the audio range, and of course also for volume modulation. And you see that you have some very interesting effects, especially if you detune again. For instance, put it an octave lower, the second VCO, effects will become different. Scope happens. The reason why frequency modulation will have some less stable behavior than over here is probably, but I'm not entirely sure, that the second VCO, because it is still process level, is always a little bit behind. So there might be some natural phasing issues if you retune it a little bit, as you see. But yeah, hearing these sounds, adding a bit of reverb. Will give you some great sound sculpting, especially if you start toying with and adding a filter with VCO or with an ADSR or an L. Will give you some great options. Okay, so much about the Triangle-VCO. Start adding Pulse-VCO. So this is the Pulse-VCO, as you can see here, nice square. Basically all the settings and options are the same. There's nothing special in the right hand. Yes, there is. Sorry, same thing. Band limited. Set the harmonics. Actually, if you zoom in a little bit, you see the sine waves being added here, causing little wobblies. And the more I add harmonics, the less conspicuous they get, the more it gets to be square wave. Let me go to unlimited, and then you see lots of aliasing happening, which may have its charm. But if you don't want that, the unlimited number. As said, same level of options here, except there is also pulse width modulation and a pulse width button over. So what happens? When you turn the pulse width modulation 50%, the up pulse becomes smaller or larger depending what side you're turning the knob on, making the sound sharper or a bit duller. And besides setting a fixed static pulse width modulation can be used to modulate it. So let's that. So that gives you again some nice additions in sound sculpting. And again, here you can also use frequency modulation to do audible spectrum. And especially if you start to modulating V. See? Get some very interesting results. So again, lots of additional sound sculpting possibilities. Yeah, and then especially if you start combining VCOs. First VCO. And then we basically combine the Triangle-VCO sound. Pulse-VCO, which definitely sharper. Tack. And pulse with nice options to think a bit of the brassy, or as you didn't recognize a Blade Runner kind of sounds, although it's a very quick hack, probably be much lower and with bits and pieces in there. But again, just as an example to show you how you can combine these VCOs in a simple way to some fairly nice shifting 80s analog sounds be created. Okay, so much for the Triangle and Pulse VCO. Hope you have fun with it. Let me know again in the comments if you have any questions or comments or valuable additions that you would like to see. And right, enjoy and see you next time.